Today on the Open Minds UFO Report, UFO videos from Ohio and Delaware, and the Green Bay Packers quarterback recalls his UFO sighting. Your Open Minds UFO Report starts now. Hello and welcome to the Open Minds UFO Report. My name is Alejandro Rojas. A witness in West Carrollton, Ohio, videotaped what was described as two spinning gem-shaped objects in formation, according to a report submitted to the Mutual UFO Network, also known as MUFON Witness Reporting Database. The witness was outside smoking when two lights were noticed rising above the tree line at about 6:30 p.m. on November 7, 2015. The two craft traveled a straight and level flight path from northwest to southeast, the witness stated. They appeared to be a spinning gem shape with no sound. Both were spinning in unison and appeared to be flying in formation. The witness claimed to have a military background and could not identify the objects. They were not traveling at an unusual speed or did not make any abnormal maneuvers. They did, however, disappear shortly after passing my position as I faced south. I have been an aircraft mechanic for over 30 years, including 4 years in the U.S. Air Force at Edwards Air Force Base. These were absolutely not aircraft that I know of, and unlike any of the unusual things I saw at Edwards. I live about a 15-minute drive from Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. The witness was able to capture the video with a phone, although he says it was difficult without the use of his reading glasses. In the report, the witness notes it is hard to spot the spinning of the objects in the video. One thing I noted was the spinning in the unison. I do not have the means to enhance video and would love to see what you can bring out in the video. The spinning of the objects cannot be seen in the video. The two objects look to be flickering and fading out, similar to Chinese lanterns, but it is difficult to make much out with two small lights in the night sky. The case was reported to MUFON on November 8, 2015. Ohio MUFON field investigator Tom Smith investigated and closed this case as an unknown. In a similar and perhaps a bit more interesting video captured in Wilmington, Delaware, a witness reported watching a pulsating square-shaped UFO low in the sky. This case was also submitted to MUFON. The witness and his wife were returning to their car after attending a birthday party when they noticed a bright object that appeared to be pulsating. The witness estimated it was 40 degrees above the tree line and says it was changing colors from blue to white to red to orange in a pattern giving the appearance the object was rotating. It moved slowly with no derivation from its course and moved away from my position towards the north. I had no idea what this object was and called it to my wife's attention. I told her that I thought it was a UFO, the witness continued. I was excited by the object's presence and immediately asked my wife for her cell phone. I was able to activate the camera and film the object for a brief time. I was only able to magnify the picture near the middle of the sighting, and the video is at some points shaky. The object continued to move away from me and disappeared behind the tree line near the horizon. Delaware MUFON Chief Investigator William Weber closed this case as an unknown. Green Bay Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers made headlines recently when he recounted a UFO sighting during a radio interview. A couple of days later, a friend of his that was present during the sighting confirmed the details of the event with one minor correction. Rodgers shared his encounter on the podcast You Made It Weird, hosted by comedian Pete Holmes. He said the sighting took place before the 2005 NFL draft pick when he was in New Jersey for an appearance on ESPN's Cold Pizza Morning Show. On the radio show, Rodgers recounted that the sighting took place after dinner with his friend and fellow college quarterback Steve Levy and Levy's family. Rodgers seemed hesitant to talk about the sighting at first, but when he got into it, it was clear the sighting was something he was excited about and remembered clearly. Rodgers told Holmes, "We were winding down at dinner and then there was a weird siren in the distance. So we go outside. It was a snowy night and we went outside and it was one of those bright nights where it's overcast but there's enough light from the moon to see things, and the next thing you know we saw something in the sky. It was a large orange left to right moving object. Because of the overcast nature of the night and the snow, you couldn't make out. It was behind the clouds we were seeing, but it was definitely large in the night sky, moving from left to right. Again, it was like 12:30 at night here. It was me, Steve, and his brother that saw it. Rogers continued, and it goes out of sight, and we look at each other and go, what in the F was that? You could hear it moving. When it had been out of sight for like 30 seconds, and when I say 30 seconds, it felt like 5 minutes, at the time we were kind of in shock. They then heard the sound of what Rogers thought might be 4 fighter jets. Rogers was convinced what he saw was not normal and says it was definitely a UFO. He also seemed to know a little something about UFO sightings. If you know anything about UFO sightings or you've done research, you know that a lot of times 2 things are connected to UFO sightings, Rogers explained. 1 is the presence of fighter jets, and 2, there's a lot of sightings around nuclear power plants. So to tie it all together, the alarm we heard was from 30 miles out was a nuclear power plant that had an alarm that went off. Rogers' friend Levy recently talked to NJ.com confirming the sighting. He essentially agreed with this story. He just clarified that they were not in New Jersey, but at Levy's family home in Cornwall, New York. I remember very vividly what Aaron was talking about, Levy told NJ.com. It was absolutely wild. Levy retold the story to NJ.com, and his version was very similar to Rogers. Levy says he checked for other reports of the object in the local papers after the event, but never found any. He also said he agreed with Rogers that the object was highly unusual. I stand behind Aaron, Levy said. It had to be a UFO. There's nothing else that it could be. The sighting left such a large impression on the two that Levy says whenever he and Rogers get together, they talk about what happened that night. Rogers' UFO sighting continues to get mainstream news coverage. The CBS Sports story asks whether Rogers' sighting would be enough to convince people UFOs are real. Listen to Rogers' interview on You Made It Weird. You can find a link to it on our story on this sighting at openminds.tv, and let us know what you think. That's your Open Minds UFO Report for today. You can find these stories and more at openminds.tv. We post fresh UFO news daily. You can also follow us on Twitter at OpenMindsTV, and you can find us on Facebook. The 25th International UFO Congress was a great success, and DVDs of the lectures can be purchased at our online store. They're also being posted on our video portal, an online streaming service. For one low price, you can view an archive of lectures from past UFO Congress events, and more videos are being added regularly. Our store and our video portal can be found at openminds.tv. Let us know if you enjoyed today's episode by liking the episode on YouTube and leaving us your comments in the section below. You can also download our podcast, Open Minds UFO Radio, on iTunes or at openminds.tv/radio. Thanks again for joining us today for Open Minds TV. I'm Alejandro Rojas.